1 year has passed since this round of the devastating war between Gaza and Israel began on October 7, 2023. The echoes of the ongoing conflict still resonate across the region, leaving behind a trail of unprecedented destruction and despair. For the Palestinian people, the past year has been the deadliest, accompanied by relentless suffering, as they continue to bear the brunt of an escalating war. Gaza, which has been under siege for over a decade, now has entire neighborhoods wiped out. Tens of thousands of innocent lives were lost in the hostilities conducted by the Israeli occupation forces, and hundreds of thousands of families continue to live in makeshift shelters. Many have been displaced multiple times, with little access to clean water, food, or medical care. Children, who are the most vulnerable in any war, now face a future marked by trauma, fear, and loss. The blockade imposed by the occupation forces has further choked the region, preventing humanitarian aid from reaching those who need it most, causing serious cases of malnutrition and famine, and making the once vibrant streets filled with tons of rubble, despair, and shattered dreams. While there have been countless calls for ceasefires and peace talks, the situation on the ground has remained dire. The international community has offered words of sympathy, but little in the way of meaningful action. Palestinians are still waiting for justice, for dignity, and for the world to acknowledge their right to live on their land in peace in Gaza and the West Bank.
Since the Palestinian-Israeli conflict broke out on October 7th last year, fighting has continued without any sign of a ceasefire. Over the past year, tensions in the Middle East have escalated, with multiple fronts opening up and a growing risk of a wider regional war. The situation escalated significantly after explosions of communications infrastructures in Lebanon last month. Israel then has carried out a series of targeted strikes against senior Hezbollah figures. On October 1st, the Israeli military announced that it had begun limited ground operations against Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon, followed by further ground and air strikes. Meanwhile, on the evening of October 1st, Iran entered the fray. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps stated that Iran had fired over 200 ballistic missiles at Israel in retaliation for recent Israeli actions. The Israeli Defense Forces spokesman described the Iranian attack as a serious and dangerous escalation, vowing that Israel would respond at the time and place of its choosing. Israel is now engaged in multiple conflicts, fighting not only Hezbollah in Lebanon, but also Hamas in Gaza and the Houthi rebels in Yemen. The situation continues to intensify with no clear resolution in sight.
1 year after the Gaza conflict, the spillover effect has become a new focus. All parties are highly concerned about whether the Middle East will get out of control. Frankly speaking, the situation in Gaza has reached a stalemate, and Lebanon's Hezbollah and the Houthi armed forces cannot pose an essential threat to Israel. In addition, Iran's large-scale missile attack has obvious military deterrence intentions. Considering Iran's domestic political and economic situation, Iran prefers limited counterattacks rather than all-out war. It is reported that the Israel Security Cabinet has approved a counterattack against Iran, but when and how is still unknown. It can be said that whether the regional situation calms down or evolves to a war state depends on Israel's response.
Since the escalation of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict on October 7, 2023, the border area between Lebanon and Israel has been in a constant state of tension. Exchanges of fire between Lebanon's Hezbollah and Israel have continued on an almost daily basis, despite significant efforts by the international community and the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon to de-escalate the situation. The root causes of the conflict have not been effectively addressed. There have been so many key points in the Lebanese-Israeli situation over the past year. First, on October 8, 2023, the second day of Operation Aqsa Flood, Lebanon's Hezbollah began launching attacks on northern Israel, and the Israeli army retaliated with airstrikes and shellings of targets in southern Lebanon. This marks Hezbollah's formal entry into the conflict. Second, on January 2, 2024, Israeli drones attacked a southern suburb of Beirut, the Lebanese capital, killing a Hamas leader. This marks a further escalation as the Lebanese-Israeli conflict expanded from the Lebanese border to the capital. Third, on September 7, 2024, which is the most recent, there were multiple explosions of communication equipment targeting members of Hezbollah, followed by multiple Israeli airstrikes on various parts of Lebanon and the southern suburbs of Beirut, and the killing of Hezbollah leader Nasrallah on the night of September 27th. Experts generally agree that the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah will be difficult to quell in a short term. The current conflict is still in early stages, and neither side will stop easily. External mediation will not be of much use until there is a winner or a loser, or until both sides enter a stalemate in which they are consumed and exhausted.
On October 7, 2023, Hamas launched a large-scale attack on Israel, sparking a wave of retaliatory Israeli strikes against what it considers its adversaries in the region. The conflict began in Gaza and quickly rippled into Lebanon, culminating into two direct exchanges of fire between Israel and Iran. In Syria, Israeli airstrikes have intensified since October 7, targeting Syrian military sites reportedly linked to Iranian forces and Hezbollah militias. These strikes have also included high-profile assassinations of key Iranian figures and commanders of pro-Iran militias. In a significant escalation, Israel carried out a direct attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus in April, marking the first ever assault on a foreign diplomatic mission in Syria and the first direct strike on Iran. This rapid escalation underscores the worsening regional instability. With Israel now engaged on multiple fronts in Lebanon, Syria, Gaza, and even a direct confrontation with Iran, Syria finds itself at the epicenter of this volatile situation. During his meeting with Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Arghachi, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad discussed ways to support Lebanon amid the Israeli military offensive, stressing the need for coordinated efforts to halt attacks and aid displaced Lebanese civilians who has been pouring into Syria in large numbers since the escalation began late September. For Syria, a country already grappling with over 13 years of crisis and debilitating US and European sanctions, the current wave of violence is compounding the challenges, particularly on the economic front. As tensions mount, so does the fear of a wider regional conflict that could spread beyond its current border. For Syrians who are already struggling with economic instability and fragile infrastructure, this conflict deepens the uncertainty surrounding the future.